have our number one steering gear pump. This is our unloading device. All right, so here we have the steering gear head tank. The way this works is we use hydraulic oil to push the rotary vanes, which in turn turns the rudder. So to save efficiency, we place the steering gear head tank, or the steering gear expansion tank as it's labeled here, above the pumps for the rotary vane. This helps reduce the total amount of suction required by creating what we call suction head through gravitation. That's good. Hi, my name is Midshipman Ian Taylor, and today we're going to be talking about the steering gear on board the USNS Sergeant William R. Button. So the steering gear on board the USNS Button is a rotary vane type steering gear, which uses hydraulic oil to apply pressure onto sort of like an impeller, which in turn rotates the steering gear rudder in the intended direction. The way we accomplish this is we use gravity to pull hydraulic oil from the steering gear head tank, and then we give it pressure by working one of the two steering gear pumps located on the port and starboard side. Okay, so here we have the starboard steering gear pump. Now the pump is driven by an electric induction motor, our typical 440 volt, 60 hertz, three-phase induction motor, which connects here to the impeller. The pump is a centrifugal pump, so it rotates the impeller, which produces oil pressure, sending it to one of our two lines. So each line is designated to apply oil pressure in the intended direction. So this line right here will apply oil pressure in the counterclockwise direction, which will cause the rudder to move starboard. The same is the case here for the port side, only the opposite, because it will apply hydraulic pressure in the clockwise direction, which will make the rudder move to the port side. The way we accomplish all of this hydraulic oil pressure is we have our suction line here from the head tank, which collects into a sort of reservoir here, and the reservoir naturally flows into the impeller right here. We have a suction gauge for when the pump is running, so we can make sure that the pump is running at its full capacity, and an automatic regulating valve, which uses electrical signals from the control box to control which side the hydraulic oil flows to. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to practice our emergency steering procedure. For the purpose of this simulation, we're going to go 15 degrees starboard, back to midship, then back to 15 degrees port, and back to midship. So the way we do this is we start by turning our controls to one of the two possible pumps. So we're going to turn to the port pump because that's fed from the emergency bus. Next, we're going to come over to our port pump controls, hit start, and you can hear the audible start of the pump. We're also going to look, make sure that we're in proper controls. And then all we're going to do is we're going to take this knob, watching the rudder angle indicator, turn 15 degrees, and back. All right. Now we're going to turn back to midship. So we're going to turn left rudder. Now we're going to go 15 degrees left and port. And now we'll go back to midship. So right rudder. All right, check. We'll verify we're at midship. All right, and we're back at 0 midship. So that's our emergency steering gear test. We'll move on to the emergency manual steering. Back to